Hi everyone, this is Terry at terryscraftroom.com. Welcome back. Today we're going to make this adorable notepad. Isn't that cute? So before Christmas I went to an estate sale and I got these cute little notepads for like a nickel a piece. And so I have 20 something of them. And so that's what we're going to use, are these notepads to make this little notepad. Now, whatever notepad you use, you can adjust the measurements. I will be giving you the measurements for this notepad. This notepad happens to be 4 5/8 inches long by 3 1/8 inches wide by about 1/8 to 3/16 inches deep. So that's what these measurements will go for. Like I said, your measurements will be different for whatever size notepad you get. And if you, as always, if you miss the measurements as I go through, or if I forget to say something, head on over to my blog and there'll be a complete list of supplies and the measurements associated with it, score lines and all, over at my blog, and there will be a direct link down below to that blog post. We are going to use the Catch You Later stamp set, which is a new stamp set in the 2022 January through June mini. We're going to use these cute little monkeys, and I love hanging around with you. It's just adorable. I love this set. So I have a piece of Very Vanilla that is 2 1/2 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And that's what I'm going to be stamping my monkeys on. So let's do that so it can dry. I'm going to be stamping in Early Espresso. And I want to stamp my monkeys a little bit towards the top. Okay, and so there are my monkeys. And through the magic of television, I've already colored them. But when you color your monkeys with, so I colored them with the Stampin' Blends, and when you color your monkeys, make sure that you since we're not using the Memento Black, we're using the Early Espresso, let that dry really well before you start coloring, otherwise it will bleed. Okay, and then I'm going to do the I Love Hanging Around with You on this scrap piece of paper. What did I just do with my ink? And there's that. And we're going to use the tailored tag, I believe it's called, and punch that out. Now, how did I go from here to here? And I'll show you that. So what we need is a piece of Just Jade and a piece of Early Espresso, a scrap. And we need, so this scrap is not quite big enough, so I'm gonna punch half of one, and then I'm going to punch half of one going on the other side. So I have two halves. If you wanted, if your piece was big enough to punch a whole one, you could punch a whole one and cut it in half. And then that's what I'm going to do with the espresso piece. I'm going to punch a whole one, and then I'm going to cut it in half. So I have right here, and then what we're going to do is find some adhesive on my desk, and we're going to, okay, so I want the brown on first, so I'm going to just take 1/2 and put it on. where I want it, and then the other half and put it on where I want it. And they won't meet in the back. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Just Jade piece. Put that on where I want it. And again, they won't meet in the back. And don't worry if the back is a little bit messy, because you're never going to see that. So there's the front of our notepad. Now I have a piece of Just Jade that is 9 5/8 by 3 1/4, and I'm going to score this, and I'm going to use my scoreboard to score this because I need to score it for my notepad at this on 16th. So I'm going to score this at 4 11/16. 8/16 is a half. Each of these little itty bitty marks is a 16th. Okay? So I know 8/16 is a half, 9, 10, 11. So it's the one little tick mark right before the 4 3/4. And then I need to score it at 4 15/16, which is the last tick mark before the 5. And those are my two score lines. And so I am scoring it, even though this is about 3/16 of an inch deep, I'm scoring it at 1/4 of an inch to give it room to lay nicely. So we've got that 1/4 of an inch right there. Okay, and let's see how it fits. It'll fit perfectly in there. So before I stick my notepad in there, I want to cover this black piece. And so I've got a piece that is the width of my notepad, which is 3 1/8, and this one happens to be 1 1/4. As long as it goes over and a little bit on the back, it could be 2 inches, it could be a little bit more, a little bit less. Just so I'm going to put some strong adhesive on here. I think a smaller piece will do. There we go. Let's pull up our adhesive. Excuse my clearing my throat. It's just been one of those days, and I'm just going to lay this on the front there of that black part, and then I'm just going to start pressing that down until I get a nice crease, and then I'll press it down again just like that. I'm going to take my bone folder so that the crease is really nice and in there. And then what I usually do is I take this top piece off, just because it starts to look ratty after a while. So now this first piece looks really nice. Now I'm going to take some adhesive, really strong, wet, this is art glitter glue, wet adhesive. And I'm going to cover the back of my notepad. Now stay tuned for the end, because I've got a couple of different notepads that I want to show you that I made with the same thing, but just different ones that I've made at Christmas time. Now what I do is I pick up all the paper and I take my bone folder and just really run it through onto that cardboard backing there. To make sure that it's nice and stuck down. Okay. Now we can decorate the front here. And so what I've got is a piece of early espresso that is 4 3/8 by 3. We're going to put that down. And then my monkeys go down. And the piece of Just Jade that I matted the monkeys on is 2 3/4 by 3. And the reason I chose to stamp the monkeys a little bit towards the top of this piece of paper is when I put the I Love Hanging Around With You on, it's going to go down here, so I didn't want to, I have a piece of cat hair there. I didn't want to cover up the monkeys. If they were further down, I would have covered up the monkeys. So this way, this kind of just fills in that empty spot at the bottom but doesn't cover up the monkeys. So this one, I am going to, I have a piece of our fine art ribbon, which is this really pretty, shiny, shimmery ribbon. It is about 3 inches long, and I'm going to put it right there. I want to see where I want it. So about right there. And I'm just going to set it down with a strip of Stampin' Seal. And then I'm... Okay, so you notice when I put my dimensionals on, I didn't put them all the way out here to the end because I don't want them to interfere with the ribbon. So I'm just kind of putting them towards the top and the bottom of my sentiment. And there we have our covered notepad. Isn't that cute? And then here are the other two that I made at Christmas time for gifts. Here's one with the poinsettias and here's one with the peaceful deer. I hope you enjoyed today's projects. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye!